Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Need an orthopedist? Go to Brock. Need a roof? Call Parish. Okay, y'all, how about it? On Friday, late Friday afternoon, we got news that running back John Emery plans to return to LSU for a sixth season. So this is interesting on a lot of levels. First of all, um, I know I, I know I shared this opinion whenever John Emery um, announced his intention to enter the portal, and ultimately, if y'all remember, he committed to UCLA. So for whatever reason, I don't know the reason why he has decided not to go to UCLA and instead return to LSU. Um, but whenever he did make that decision that he was going to UCLA, um, let me make sure of something real quick. Hang on. Maybe he just visited UCLA. No, 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 no. That's right. Matt Zenitz reported. That's right. So this was on May 23rd. Matt Zenitz reported that John Emery was going to go to UCLA. Yep. Matt Zenitz reported that on July 23rd. So he had announced his intention to transfer. I guess he never enrolled in UCLA. And remember, he graduated from LSU. But my point about Emery that I've made and consistently will make is yes, he came to LSU as a five-star, and there was tremendous expectation on John Emery coming out of Destrehan because he was the number one running back in the country. And when you look at his 5 years in Baton Rouge, um, I think we all had loftier expectations because of the recruiting hype that followed John Emery, but it doesn't always work out that way. And part of it in his career was injury. Part of it obviously was academic issues. The thing that I have said and will continue to say about John Emery is he could have 3 years ago walked away from college football. Remember, 2019 was his freshman year. They won the Natty. 2020 was COVID when he had a couple of really good games in COVID. And then 2021 was the year he was suspended. That was his third year out of high school. John Emery could have gone to the draft after missing the 2021 season, but didn't. Came back for Brian Kelly's first year in 2022. Of course, had the touchdown catch against Bama in the upset win, the awesome play on the sideline, and was had his most productive season. Could have left then, but decided to come back for 2023 and tried to graduate. And he did graduate. Now he tore his ACL against Florida, and that stinks. But that was a guy that school was not easy for him, and it would have been totally understandable if he at any point had said, "I'm going to the league, I'm done with school, whatever." But he stuck it out, graduated, and now he's going to be a grad student at LSU, and play another season. So there is the question about how he fits in. I think we're all very excited about Caleb Jackson to see what he can do, maybe with 150 to 200 carries on the season. You have Josh Williams coming back for a sixth year as well. So you have another veteran piece who's been a very good SEC back for you. You have Caden Durham, the freshman, coming in. And then the wild card is Trey Holly. And quite honestly, the John Emery news makes me kind of wonder, are they not planning on getting good news for Trey Holly, or is this a backup plan? I mean, Brian Kelly has consistently said when asked about Trey Holly that their expectation is that Holly is going to be cleared and is going to be able to be reinstated by the university and back in the football program. But maybe not. Until that happens, are you short a man? You're short a man until that happens. Until that happens. So, maybe this is where you go. You need more depth. He's a guy who knows your system, knows your culture. You want to have him around for another year? Come on. So, I understood Emery's decision to transfer because even if he had come back, he wasn't going to be a featured back, right? I mean, Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams have kind of taken those roles. In his career, for John Emery's year by year statistics, for example, like again, one of the things that I heard when he decided to transfer was he coming off the injury, especially the NFL told him, look, we need to see you go play a full season. So it's one of the reasons that he decided to transfer, go play and go take a bunch of reps. So like the most attempts he's had in a career was in a season was the COVID year. The 22 season, he had 76 rushing attempts. So he went 39 as a freshman. In the COVID year, he had 75. He missed the 21 season. In 22, he had 76. And then in 23, last year, he only had 23 attempts. So, and his receiving statistics, 6, 14, 13, 3. So, in his career, John Emery has 213 rushing attempts. Like I'm telling you, I want to see Caleb Jackson get 200 this year, So anyway, glad to have John Emery back in the fold. That for me, that's a guy that's easy to pull for. A guy who's been through a lot of adversity, some of it self-created, but would have been easy to walk away. He never did. He took his medicine in 2021, and missed that season. He'll continue to have games missed. Start 2022, missed the opener in 22. Would he missed the first 2 games this year, 2 or 3 games, whatever it was. But back again. All right, let's say some good mornings. Appreciate y'all for being here as always. YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We appreciate y'all as always. Woke up to a text this morning from Steve. Excuse me. Woke up to a text this morning from Shane Menard with Evermore. Parrish is replacing Shane's roof this morning. Love it when we have good synergies. Might have more bottle right here so you can see it. Okay. Jeremy, good morning. Kobe, any news in the transfer portal? I guess you mean baseball. Not yet. Hey, Randall, good morning. Trivia, good morning. I can't believe West Virginia coach would pitch to Honeycutt with the game on the line. Yeah, so how about North Carolina? Dude, maybe North Carolina is just a team of destiny. North Carolina hit the walk-off. They were down 3 runs in the 9th, hit the walk-off against Long Island. Obviously, they were down to the last 3 outs against LSU, rallied 1. And then last night, they were down the 9th to West Virginia, Vance Honeycutt hit a walk-off homer to win the first game of the Super Regional. I mean, crazy. Merrick, good morning. Chef, what's going on? Hugh, what's going on? Dalton, John Emery's back. Love to see it. Yep, John Emery made that announcement yesterday. So I guess he never. We'll get this word, I'm sure, eventually from LSU. So and they would still have a scholarship available. But if John Emery had been, the word they use is matriculated. If he had matriculated to UCLA, meaning if he had enrolled and all that, then to come back, like you can't enter the portal now as a grad student. He could come back, and if they had a scholarship available, they could give him a scholarship if available. So, and I would assume that John would use maybe that last scholarship. So, Alex Barnes, Scone, missed you, my boy. Good to be back. Glad to see you, Alex. Thanks for being here. Larry, Brian, good morning. Hey, Kelly, good morning. Patrick, what's up, my dude? Austin, good morning. Great news about Emery. Darren Gagnon, great shirt. Yeah, man. How about did y'all catch? We had William Schmidt on AFR yesterday with Terrio. It was at 5:15, so it was the second segment of hour 3. I'll clip it and post it on all our social channels. The full interview. William, it was great. It was a great chat, great interview. And they asked that we not ask him specifically about the draft, and I understand that, and I'm totally respected that and I understand that's what everybody wants to know is but keep in mind, like, he has representation and he's going into a situation where there's going to be a negotiation where he's going to take advisement from his family and his representation, and they have a number that they're going to have, and if they get their number, he'll take it and he'll sign and he'll go pro. And if not, he'll end up at LSU. But it's still a great conversation to listen to him talk about how he's running. He said, when he was a freshman at Catholic, he was 5'5", 100 pounds. And he grew a foot. He's 6'5" now. And he worked so hard to get his body in shape. And now he's a guy that throws 98 and Gatorade, Louisiana Player of the Year. Catholic won the national championship in baseball, and William Schmidt is one of, if not the top high school pitching prospect in this year's draft. So somebody's going to take him and offer him an awful lot of money, man. We'll see if he takes that or if he ends up at LSU. So he's going to win either way. James, good morning. Darren, yes, sir. Jesse, with Emery coming back, what does this do to his draft chances? Yeah, Jesse, not good either way, right? John Emery, he's going into his 6th season. So let's see. John was born. Hey, babe. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. Usually it shows like birthday or something like that. So anyway, so he's going into his 6th year. So I assume he's 24 at the draft. On the counter? No, I'm sorry. So assume John's 24, right? 24, having a torn ACL. The good news for John is like he hasn't had a ton of like wear and tear from hits, right? I mean, he's only got 200 carries in 5 years. So, I mean, that works in his favor. But, when you're 24, you're already, I mean, that was remember that was the knock on Hendon Hooker. He was like, man, if you take him to sit behind Jared Goff, he's already 24. By the end of his rookie contract, he's 28 years old. Like he's not even a young professional anymore. Like he's pushing 30 already. So, I mean, honestly, it's not great. But if someone will give him a shot, I'm sure. Bubba, good morning. Hey, Dana, good morning. Wendell, good morning. Mason Dixon, good morning. What's a reasonable expectation for Emery to contribute coming off the third? This isn't his third ACL. Remember he missed 21 because of academics. So, and I don't think. Let's see. He had. Yeah, so he played. Yeah, this. Yeah, unless if there's something I'm missing, like his high school. I don't think he had an ACL in high school. Yeah, I don't think that. I think this is his first ACL. I don't think that's the problem. Like, someone correct me if I'm wrong. That if I'm missing something there, John's thing is he's been out because of academics. That's what's caused him to miss the bulk of his career. But what's a reasonable expectation to contribute? Well, um, probably the same role he's had. 70, 50, 75 carries over the course of the year. 5 to 7 touches a game. That's probably what he's looking for. Um, Make defense great again. Morning, Matt. With a small sample size, what have seen of John Emery and his electric? With what we have seen of John Emery is he is electric with the ball in his hands. Is there any downside to him coming back with Diggs leaving? No. And the other thing too, remember Logan Diggs tore his ACL in the bowl game. So, you hope Diggs is healthy as well and ready to go for the season, but it's a fair assumption that at least for the start of the season, Diggs won't be ready or 100%. I mean, Emery's ACL tear came a month before Diggs. So, so we'll see, um, what more than a month actually. We'll see how healthy both of those guys are when it comes time to get out there on the field. But I'll never listen. I'll say this about Emery at running back. I'll say this about any position in any sport. I don't see the downside ever to adding experienced depth. That's it. So, having a guy that was on the 2019 championship team, that's 24 years old, that's been through a lot of ups and downs, that's got physical ability, that knows your system, knows your culture, like that's not a bad thing, having that guy on the team. I don't think he's going to be your leading rusher, but there's no downside to having that guy on the team. Ryan, let's see. Tennessee starting third baseman Zane Denton hit the portal 2 days ago. Do you think LSU has a shot? So the Zane Denton thing is interesting, Ryan, because Zane Denton, if you remember, started his career at Bama and then went to Tennessee and had a great year at Tennessee 2 years ago. But then this year he missed the season for what Tony Vitello just kept saying was like personal reasons. Like they never really gave a reason why Denton missed the season. I'm trying to get his stats from that first year at Alabama. Let's see. So started 11 times during the COVID season, started 53 games at Bama in 21, hit 308, led the team. In 2022, started all 58 games at 263, so the average dipped. He goes to Tennessee for the 2023 season, so the last year's team. The team that obviously LSU ousted in the CWS. Get his stinking stats. There we go. Sorry, I was on season, not career. Here you go. So last year he had 269, had it was 16 homers. So the 308 season at Bama, kind of the outlier. He's mostly like a 260, 270 hitter. Other than that, but again, like I don't know what's going on with Zane Denton personally. That caused him to be away from the team this year. I absolutely believe LSU is going to target a third baseman in the portal. Again, Tommy White's gone. Braswell, we're all expecting to sign. Milam's back, who could play, I think, second, third, or short, but likely stays at second. I told you the Louisville shortstop there in the mix there in the portal. And then you've got, Kucherak, who's a young guy coming back who, they'd be very high on. So we'll see. I don't know that Denton is the guy that they go after. But again, before you do, I'd have to know why he was out of baseball this year, and I don't know. Some person crazy to think LSU still has players from 2019. I know. Cardell Thomas is still playing as well. Cardell, after leaving LSU, went to FAMU and played there. And I believe I saw that Cardell Thomas went back in the portal for a sixth season. Maybe like after playing at FAMU, try to jump up in competition again. Let's see. No, it doesn't say where he's going. Yeah, but this was end of April. So he did. So Cardell Thomas did go back in the portal. I don't know where he ultimately committed or what he's going to do, but yeah, he did go back in the portal. So he left LSU, went to FAMU, so he got a chance to get on the field and play, in the FCS level. And so my guess is now he'll try to transfer up. I don't know if it'll be back up to the Power 5 or Power 4, but maybe G5 and have a chance to go play somewhere. Timothy Fontenot, good morning. Taz, would it be a good idea to train Alontae Taylor at safety? Yes. Yes, it would. I think he is Malcolm Jenkins 2.0. He is a guy that was a cornerback in college, went to the NFL, and became a really good safety. I absolutely think that's Alontae Taylor's future. I think you will have potentially a great tandem with Kool-Aid McKinstry and Paulson Adebo, and then you kick Alontae Taylor back to safety. I absolutely think that's a great idea. B. Lorky, doing any betting today? I don't know. I haven't looked at anything, but maybe. Jim Arsenault, good morning. Joel, is it fair to say the reason most people aren't concerned about Sloan calling plays is because Kelly is highly involved in the offense and proven at developing inexperienced OCs like Reese, et cetera? No, maybe. I mean, I think number one, part of it is just wishful thinking from fans. Just to be very candid, it's gonna be great. I mean, the same reason why we all sort of sell each other on the upside of things. Typically, every recruit's going to be great. Every coach is going to be awesome. We look at the positive instead of why it might not be a great idea. I think that's part of it. Now, I genuinely believe Joe's going to be fine. Joe has called plays before. He was the OC for Joe Sloan was the OC at Tech for 2 years. Now, one of those years, one of those years under Skip Holtz. I want to make sure I have my timeline right. All right. So he became in 2014, he became the co-OC in quarterbacks. No, I'm sorry, 2019. He went to Tech in 13. He was there under Skip Holtz. Skip Holtz had him in South Florida, brought him with him to Tech. And he was the receivers coach, recruiting coordinator. Then in 2019 became co-OC and quarterbacks coach. And then in 2020, in the COVID year, and in 2021, he was the OC. They dropped the co-deal. He got the OC job. And in one of those seasons, he called plays. So Sloan has called plays before. And then we saw him do it in the bowl game, and they put up 500 yards of offense against Wisconsin. And the other thing, too, I think is just the talent you have offensively. I mean, they really have an embarrassment of riches offensively. So I think that's a big reason why people are optimistic about this offense. I mean, you've got tons of receiving talent. You'll have one of, if not the best offensive lines in all of college football, with 4 starters returning including 2 projected first-round picks. That's not me saying it. I mean, all the way too early mock drafts have Campbell and Jones both going in round 1, every one of them. So, yeah, I think that's why. That's as big a reason as any. Mason Taylor's back for a junior season. So, Bubba, Tar Heels with another dramatic 9th inning walk-off. Maybe they're a team of destiny, y'all. Hey, Jacob, good morning from Mexico. Okay, man. Enjoy. Joe, good morning. 2 questions. Any word on the Louisville shortstop? Not yet. Do you think those rumors about Texas coming after Jay, do you think Jay would leave LSU for Texas? So, Joe, just to clarify, for those that missed it, not rumors. Kendall Rogers was on AFR on Thursday and said that if Texas fires David Pierce, he expects Texas will make a run at Jay Johnson. And Kendall is not the guy that's just making stuff up. Like, he's as connected as anybody in college baseball. So I believe that's something that you do make that call. If you're Texas, you make Jay Johnson tell you no. And I think Jay Johnson would tell them no. There's just no reason to leave here for Texas. You're already in the SEC. You're at a program where you've won a national title, or you have every resource you need to continue winning. LSU is the preeminent job in college baseball. So yeah, I think they'll call, and I think he'll tell them no. Hey, Dad. Good morning. Brian Turner, Matt. How do you like the match of LSU's O-line against USC's front seven? You know what? I need to. It's a good question, Brian. I need to dig in deeper on USC. And now that we're in the summer and with baseball season being over now, this is the time of year where I think we start to shift some of our focus toward football season and looking at some of those nuanced questions. And that's a good one. Like, we generally do spend the offseason like looking for news around the season opening opponent when it's a big opponent. And so I will be starting to follow USC's offseason a little more closely. And I do need to dig deeper. I mean, that was a USC defense last year that was really bad. And just like LSU, fired its defensive coordinator, so did USC, and they brought in the defensive coordinator from UCLA, who they're very high on, who had a good run there under Chip Kelly. So I don't know. The only thing I know about the front seven definitively is Bear Alexander is still there from Georgia, who transferred last year, thought might go into the portal, decided to stay at SC. He's a big old dude, but I mean, I love LSU's offensive line against anybody because, like I just said, I mean, it's you're splitting hairs among the best, but the LSU is one of the top offensive lines in college football. So that is, in my opinion, the biggest position of strength on the entire LSU team. So no matter who LSU's playing, if you tell me LSU's offensive line against whoever, who do you favor? Well, I'm going to like LSU's offensive line's chances. Code Tigers, please tell me Emery don't have classes to take and just concentrate on football. Well, if you're on the team, you're enrolled in school. So yes, you have to take classes. Cole, good morning. When will John be on the field given the injury? Yeah, that's something we'll have to find out. But so he suffered the injury. It was the Florida game, which was on November the 11th. So by the time you play the opener, it will have been 10 months. And we see guys come back from ACLs in less than a year now. The Joe Burrow example is a good one. Joe Burrow tore his ACL in week 11 of the 2020 season. So that was the end of November. Okay. So Emery tore his ACL on November 11th. Burrow's ACL MCL, which was a much more serious injury that Burrow had, was November 23rd. So 3 weeks after that. It's 2 weeks at around the same time. And Burrow was back for the start of the season with a much more serious injury. So a big part of it is how much do you attack your rehab? How quickly do you heal? So I think it is certainly plausible to think John Emery could be ready to go for the season opener. But if not, at some point early in the season. Joseph Fallsgraf, morning, Matt. Question: how many portal windows does baseball have? Well, it's not necessarily that baseball has a portal window. It's like athletes in the spring sports. But like they could go into the portal in the fall portal window as well, right? So Trying to get the dates. Oh God, that's all the way back to 2018. I'll find something more up to date. But they could enter in theory the transfer portal in the fall portal window as well. Like if let's say hypothetically you go through fall ball and you get cut, whatever, you don't make the team, you could enter the portal then and then find a new place to go after fall ball, which does happen a lot because you carry your roster is heavy. Like you have a 40-man roster limit, your roster is always going to be heavy in the fall. And then there's guys that are told like you don't have a spot. And so then you enter the portal and you leave. Abner Neal, what's going on? Randall, when we find out if Jones is entering the draft or coming back after the draft. So remember, like, it's not in baseball, it's not entering the draft or coming back. Like, baseball is the one sport where anybody can be drafted. They could draft me if they wanted to. Like, we've seen that before. Like, where football players get drafted in the baseball draft, that like you don't formally enter your name into the draft. It's just they can pick whoever they want. And so then they negotiate. So when the draft happens, the way that transpires is so it's Sunday. So it's Sunday to Tuesday, July 14th through the 16th. So that's going to be while we're at SEC Media Days. Oh, wow. But the draft will happen, and effectively guys are waiting for their phone to ring. And so that's why you go into the draft with a plan, knowing with your representation, like what your number is. So hypothetically, let's say Jared Jones says, I want $1 million. If I don't get $1 million, I'll come back to school. Fine. You can look at the slot values. So in the first 10 rounds of the draft, every pick has an associated slot value. So, and every team has a pool of bonus money that they can give to their draft picks. So, for example, and this depends on like how much money you spent the year before, if your team was good or bad. It's like the Guardians, for example, have 18.3 million. The Rockies have 17.2 million. The Reds 15.8. The Royals 15.4, and so on. So the Guardians have the first pick. The slot value of the first pick is $10.57 million. So whoever the Guardians take with the first pick, the Guardians will call and say, hey, we're going to select you here. Would you take, we're going to give you $10.5 million. Done. Okay, we're taking you. Now, sometimes if teams try to save money, they make, like, let's say the guy that might be the first pick wants $12 million, hypothetically, wants $12 million. But there's someone that would take $9 million to be the first pick. Well, they could save $3 million right there, or at least $1 million off their slot pool by taking somebody else who's willing to accept less, if that makes sense. I know that's a lot, but so Jones will be sitting there in the draft waiting for his phone to ring, and let's say they get into round 3 and the A's with the first pick of round 3, the slot value at number 75 is $1.043 million. What if the A's call him and say, hey, we're going to give you slot value, $1.043 million. Would you take it? He'll either say yes, and they'll pick him, or he'll say, no, I want $2 million. And if it's $2 million, they say, no, thanks, we'll pick someone else. And they're on to the next. And so you wait for your phone to ring, and then we'll see if somebody takes him, like over slot value, gives him his number, whatever. I don't know. But that's why these players go into the draft knowing what their number is. So when you hear people say, oh, he didn't get his number. Well, like Cam Johnson last year had a big number. Like Gavin Guidry 2 years ago had a big number. Like I know I had a firsthand conversation with a scout that told me he called Gavin Guidry on draft day and offered him $2 million, and Guidry turned it down. So Guidry had a bigger number and walked away from $2 million and to come to school. So that happens. That happened to Cam Johnson last year. That happened with Dylan Cruz. So really, it's just a matter of, if you're Bear Jones, what is your number, and do you get offered that? And if you do you take it, or do you come back to school for another year? So we won't know until the draft. But remember, with the first 10 rounds of the draft have associated slot value. So if you hear a player taken if you hear a player's name called in the first 10 rounds, they are signing. They have agreed to the deal. The only times that players get picked and maybe don't go is after round 10 when teams might take a flyer on somebody. So there may be senior signs. Like last year, Gavin Dugas went in round 6. Well, he got well below slot value. He went in round 6 where, I mean, the first pick of round 6, let me tell you exactly what pick he was. 165 overall. So slot value for pick 165 this year is $388K. Gavin Dugas got, as I recall, maybe like 50 grand. So I actually think it was less than that. Hang on. I'm not going to go dig back through all these old texts. Anyway, just suffice to say, the slot value for Gavin last year around 6 was $388K, and he got less than $100K because he was a senior sign. He had no leverage, so he just took what they offered him, and so that team, the Nationals, was able to save $300 grand essentially and offer that to somebody else because they took a senior sign. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I know that was a lot of words. Sorry if that didn't make sense. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. We appreciate you as always for being there with us. Shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and Parrish Construction and Roofing. If you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. They're the best. If you need a roof, call us at Parrish. We'd love to help you out. Or go to parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. All right, back to the comments. Michael, is Emery a draftable player? Yes, he is. Probably late round pick. Live from Broadmoor. Okay, Club Ruckus, thanks for being there. Joe Hamilton, who you got, Celtics or Mavs? LOL. I picked the Celtics in 7. I think a lot of people will overreact to game 1 being a blowout. We see it every year in the NBA Finals. People see a game go a certain way, and then they dramatically react one way to that. But the big thing about a best-of-7 series is adjustments. Who makes the best adjustments as a best-of-7 series go along? So we'll see. Donald and me, what's good? Rex, good morning. Brian Turner, Cardell Thomas look good at FAMU. They were a top 5 offense in the FCS. Good deal. Good deal. Man, I pull for him, man. Good kid. He was great. He was great to work with and deal with throughout the recruiting process and everything. He was just a guy that was probably just a little overvalued, man. I think they kind of knew it. Like, he was real tight. He carried a lot of weight in his top half. He wasn't as strong and as quick in his lower half, and he just wasn't ready to play in the SEC. So, he was a big kid who was really physical and mauled a lot of kids in 1A football. And so he kind of probably got over-evaluated a bit. And then we started going to the elite camp, struggled. You saw his star rating drop a little bit. But when you had a highly rated guy from Baton Rouge, you take him. And so LSU did. And the odd thing is, y'all, there were people, I know this, I've had these conversations. There were people on that staff on Ogeron's staff in that 2019 class that wanted the other Louisiana offensive lineman, Osiris Torrance, and they thought he was a better prospect than Cardell. But it was like, well, Cardell was higher rated, and it was from Baton Rouge, so he was a must take. And so they took Cardell, and Osiris Torrance ended up going to ULL, obviously with Napier, developed into a great player, went to Florida, became an All-American, and I think he was a second-round pick, wasn't he? I don't think he went in round 1. He went to Buffalo. I think he was a second-round pick. But anyway. Primus Oximus. Morning, Matt. What are your thoughts on the word of Marshawn Lattimore being traded from the Saints? The Saints seem pretty intent on not trading him at this point. I would. I went through this earlier this week. Lattimore, as a post-June 1 trade, it would save you money this year and next year, and you'd get an asset in return, even if it's a 4th-round pick. I'd rather that. I just don't see the Saints as a contender, and Lattimore doesn't make you a contender. Now, I don't think the Saints are going to move him, but I would at this point because I see it differently from the Saints' organizational perspective. I see it as a team that's not contending and should start to think more about the future, getting their salary cap structure in line, acquiring draft assets, but that's not where they are. They're trying to win now, which I think is foolish because I don't think they're even a 500 team this year. Dylan Hess, got it. Yeah, that was the one I answered. Tiger Diver just jumped in. Did you cover John Emery still has eligibility left? Yes. So good question, because I was confused by this as well. And so when Emery, a month ago, whenever that was, entered the portal, I started asking around about this. So because he graduated, he was able to appeal to the NCAA to get the 2021 year back that he missed. So when John Emery he played in 2019. 20 was the COVID year, right? So it was a free year. So everybody got that free year. 21 was when he was, so take COVID year away. 21 was when he was academically ineligible, but you don't get to count that as a redshirt year. Like that, you lose that year of eligibility. Came back and played in 22 and in 23. So those 4 plus the COVID year, that he's out of eligibility. Well, because he graduated, he went and appealed to get the eligibility from 2021 back that he missed because of the academic issue. And that's apparently when guys graduate and appeal that they very commonly win. So that's what happened. He graduated and appealed to get his year of eligibility back from 2021, which is why he has one more year. Good question. I'm glad you asked that. Cajun to the core. LP from Cutoff. What's up? Catholic High pitcher. What's our chances? Had him on AFR yesterday. Just realistically, not knowing the conversations that families have. I mean, and the kid loves LSU and grew up. He even said himself, he's like, I'm basically a super fan. He was up in North Carolina last week for the regional. If someone's going to offer that kid north of $5 million and he's going to sign, I mean, and he should, quite honestly. So, why are there multiple non-kicking players weighing less than 160 pounds on the football roster? I don't know. Harambe, Louisville shortstop, visiting Tennessee this weekend. I'm just telling. How about this? The day that the regional bracket came out, and I sat here on Morning Scone and told you when D1 baseball and Baseball America and everybody had their predictions out, and I sat here on Morning Scone and told you I think LSU is going to be the 2 seed in Chapel Hill, and they're going to face Wofford in the opening round game, and they're going to be paired with the Tucson regional. When I told you that, the person that told me that is the person that told me that LSU is in the mix for the Louisville shortstop. So take that for what it's worth. And Beth, excuse me, happy for Emery, taught in St. Rose when he was in elementary school. That's awesome. I look at the John Emery situation through probably a different prism than most fans. Again, I look at it and say, very admirable that he has persevered through a lot in his career. Would have been very easy 3 years ago to walk away from college after his academic suspension and go to the draft, but came back, has graduated, has battled injuries, and I admire that very much. David, what's the benefit for LSU having Emery back this year? How does this benefit him? Well, it definitely adds a veteran piece to the running back room. And you are thin. Remember last year, the big story, Kelly got asked a million times when they had 8 scholarship running backs. How are you going to divvy up reps for 8 running backs? And his point always was the cream generally rises and we'll figure it out. Well, right now, before Emery came back, the only scholarship running backs you had, Caleb Jackson, Josh Williams, Caden Durham, the freshman coming in. That's it. Trey Holly still hasn't been reinstated, and Emery was in the portal. So you had 3. I mean, until yesterday, you had 3 scholarship running backs on your roster. That's paper thin. So adding Emery gives you at least 4, and if Trey Holly comes back, that's 5. So I don't think you get to a point where Emery's is getting a dozen touches a game, but could he get 5 to 7 touches a game? 3 carries, couple receptions? Yeah, I think that's possible. John, morning, Matt. Watch all the time on demand. Love your content. Thank you, John. Appreciate that very much, man. Andrew Bayer, been a while since I've been able to join Morning Scone. Want to say I had a great experience with Parrish for some roof repairs. Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate the opportunity. I've mentioned it before. For those who don't know, I mean, for 3.5 years, we've told you to do business with someone, and our group down here just made the difficult decision to just start our own company. Hi, Steven Robert Mumford. Hey, you want to come say hi to Dad Show? You want? He's gone. Gone. Let's see. Blanche. This is good news if he can be available all season. Matt Lusto. Did Burrow really drop a poo coin or just Twitter scams? Have no idea. I've not seen anything about Burrow. So in crypto vernacular, a poo coin is actually an S coin. But thank you, Matt, for cleaning it up for Morning Scone. So what Bitcoin maximalists would call altcoins. Basically, an altcoin is anything not Bitcoin. Is an altcoin, and often refer to those projects as poo S coins. So basically, saying did Burrow drop his own crypto project? And I don't know. Gulf South, regular in the OTB YouTube chat said earlier this week that Texas had reached out to Jay's people last month. Everyone called BS, but then a few days later on AFR, Kendall confirmed the interest. Okay. I would also say, just for the record, Gulf South, there's a big difference between saying someone at Texas has already reached out to Jay and if they move on from Pierce, they'd have interest. There's a big difference between those two things, just for the record. And that's one of the things when it comes to actually reporting news. It may seem like a small detail, but that's how you avoid having egg on your face by misreporting things. And unfortunately, in 2024, journalistic integrity is virtually zero. And I'm not saying, I don't know who that was who said that. And that's not even the point. It's just there's such a rush to get news out there now on Twitter and whatever platform. And news organizations generally aren't investing in reporters anymore. Because everybody has Twitter and social media, and like John Emery, for example. We all found out John Emery is coming back to LSU because John Emery put it out there on social media. He broke his own news. Before social media, whoever wanted to get that out there would have had to gone to someone with a news outlet to break that news. So it's just changed a lot, man. Either way. And the other thing too is Gulf South, with respect to that point, when you're talking about anybody trying to break news, there's always the question of credibility. And with credibility, the real question is, what do you have to lose if you're wrong? If whoever that person was, and I don't know, I'm not saying anything one way or the other. If they're wrong, nobody cares. Their life doesn't materially change one way or the other. If Kendall Rogers is wrong, as the guy that's the publisher of D1Baseball.com, which is the premier college baseball news source and website, that's a big deal, right? So it's always a matter of, like, when I'm looking at news, what do you have to lose if you're wrong? Mac, what makes Brian Kelly led team so good at developing alignment? It's a great question, man. First of all, I think he has a good eye for talent. And it's how he chooses to build his team. Front Steven. Steven Robert Mumford. He's watching videos of my cousin Steven. I have no idea why. He loves Steven. I'm not saying that, but I don't know why this morning he chose to watch videos. Rocky would have never guessed this would be an unpopular opinion, but welcome back, John Emery. Yeah, I don't know that it's an unpopular opinion, Rocky. I think people are rightfully excited about Caleb Jackson sort of being the bell cow. And I don't think this changes that. I think adding John Emery back gives you a talented veteran depth piece to a running back room that, as of today, is thin. And in best case, you get Trey Holly back, and then all of a sudden now you've got 5 backs, and you've got some depth, and you've got experience, and you've got youth, and you've got physicality, and you've got speed, and you've got the ability to catch the ball at the backfield. Now you have a lot in that room. Brett DeGrow, Cajun to the core. Let's see. How do MLB contracts work? Take Jones, for example. If he gets drafted in the fourth, gets $1 million, does he get that up front or over X year? Good question. So no, that's a signing bonus. So that's not your contract. That's the lump amount you get to sign. So like last year when Dylan Cruz got $9 million or whatever it was. Yeah, so Dylan got 9 million. So Dylan got boom 9 million up front. So then when you're in the minors, you sign a minor league contract. Um, so um, um, let's see. So like the average so June of 2024, the average salary for a minor league baseball player is $50,906 or $24.47 per hour. The minimum salary, let's see, goes by league, so or by level. That's crazy. So weekly salaries, here you go. Again, this is you're just paid during the season, remember. So weekly salaries, rookie ball 19.8, low A 26.2, high A 27.3, double A $30,250. See, so you're paid during the season. Like this is the full compensation structure. No, forgive me. Here you go. Yeah, no, I knew that was too high. Here you go. Those were annual numbers. I'm sorry, those were annual numbers. So your weekly number, that is Steven. So the weekly number, so in rookie ball, you get $675 a week. Low A, $850 a week. High A, $900 a week. Double A, $1,000 a week. Triple A, $1,200 a week. So your annual salary this year in the minors, rookie ball 19.8, low A 26.2, high A 27.3, double A $30,250, and if you're in triple A, you make 35.8. That's your annual salary. So in the minors. So that's the point. So like Dylan Cruz being in, I think Dylan Cruz in double A right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's still in double A. Yeah, so he's in double A. So Dylan Cruz in double A. It's a good question. I'm glad to look this up. So Dylan Cruz is making $30,000 this year in double A. So, but his weekly pay, Dylan Cruz is getting $1,000 a week. Steven's phone number is 555-1387. He wants to know his phone number now. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Cajun, of course, said how do players survive on 50K minor league pay until the miracle of getting called up happens. They don't, which is why they leave. Terrio's told this story before. Like the day when he got called up, so he was married, and Houston had been born, their son. and he told me he went to like the ATM. You know how you go to the ATM and you could check your balance and give you a little receipt with your balance in it. And he said he had something like $6 in his account, like he was broke and he was about to just quit and come home and work. And I think he was in Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. He told me. Been a while since he told me that story, and the $6 might be wrong, but it was something like that. Like he was broke, and he got called up and never went back down. So interesting. Okay. It's Andy still pushing Napier. Let's see, Randall. How would the Saints move on from Carr after the season if they fire DA? I mean, listen, the only way they do it, Randall, is if one of the young quarterbacks pops. Because after restructuring his contract, you have hitched yourself to the Derek Carr. You've hitched your wagon to the Derek Carr contract for 2 years financially. So here's the number. So Carr in 2024, his dead cap number is $62.8 million. So of course he's 100% your quarterback this year. His cap hit's $12 million. Next year, his cap hit goes up to $51 million, but the dead cap number is $50 million. So either way, right? You have a potential out though for 2026. Now, if it's a post June 1 release or trade next year, and obviously you wouldn't trade him, nobody's gonna take the contract, but let's say you release Derek Carr next year post June 1, your dead cap number would go down to 21, but then in 26, so you'd save $30 million next year post June 1. But in 2026, you'd have a $28.6 million dead cap number. So more realistically, what would happen is you'd still have that $28.6 million in 2026, but his cap hit in 2026 is $61 million. So after 2025, this is what Derek Carr would cost you. In 2026, of dead, not on the roster, this is what he would still cost you. $28.6 million. And then in 2027, $17.2 million to not be on your team after 2025. So again, the only way out of this is if Hainer or Rattler become a starter, and then you have a starter on a bargain basement rookie contract. Like that's it. So let's see. Gulf South, how often do you have guests with off topic limits, or they give you scripted questions asked? So scripted questions, never. And I was yesterday when we had William, like there's two ways to think about it. And it's a very good question, because I think of it in this terms. Like if I'm the audience, I'm listening to Matt interview William Schmidt. I want to know if he's coming to LSU. Like that's the first question. I want to know if the kid's coming to LSU or if he's going to go to draft. But I also respect the fact that he's 18, he's a high school kid, and his representation asked that we not ask him specifically about the draft. And I understand that for this reason. If he slipped up and said something that they didn't want him to say, that could potentially harm a negotiation where millions of dollars are at stake. That's a lot of pressure to put on a young person. So in that respect, I was willing to say, okay, because I still think the story, but I was very candid about that with the audience to say, listen, I'm not going to ask him about the draft for this reason. It wasn't like we went through the interview and I just didn't ask the question people would have wanted to know. But I'll tell you, in my entire career, and if you think of it this way, just AFR, 14 years of AFR, 3 hours a day, average of an interview per hour, 250 shows. Let's see. I don't math. Let's see. 250 roughly 250 shows a year times 3 hours a day. It's 750 hours times 3 guests per. That's more than 2,000 guests a year times 14 years. So just rough numbers. That's how many interviews I've done on AFR. That's a crap load of interviews. I don't know that I remember another time. I think there was one time when I interviewed Paul Maneri, and there was something going on, something legal, and I can't remember what it was now. And it wasn't Stephen Mumford, Stephen Robert Mumford, and it wasn't anything it wasn't legal like in an illegal sense. It was I think something like NCAA scholarship like thing going on like that. Um and most of the time what I'll tell people is I'm going to ask the question. I don't have to press you, but I mean, I'll tell you Shaq, for example. At Shaq on, do you remember years ago Shaq was doing a speech for some Lakers event, and he made some quip about how he made more money when he was at LSU, blah blah blah. Well, Dale Brown was really hurt by that, and Shaq was joking and whatever, but Shaq felt the need to make it right. So, Shaq obviously used to come on the show when he was in town. Shaq has a place in Atlanta, but he's got a place here as well. So when he would come in town, he would record his podcast in our building, literally in the studio right next to where we were. So he would come in studio, record his podcast, and then when he was done recording the pod, he would pop on with me for a segment. That's when you hear the drops like the this is Shaq O'Neal and I hate Matt or love you Matt, all that stuff. Like that's when Shaq was coming on with us when he would come in and do his podcast. Well, so his people reached out, was like, Shaq wants to go on air, clear the air with LSU people. I was like, of course. Well, I opened it up and kind of gave him and so he said what he said, but then I followed up just point blank and was like, I respect it, but I'm going to ask you point blank, did you take money when you were at LSU? And he kind of got mad at me and was like, not mad, but he got stern and was like, I just told you that. And I think then they realized, hey, let's not make this a thing like back, which he did. And that's when he did the love you, Matt thing. But anyway, but I had asked the question. I mean, so I know that's a long rambling answer to the whole thing, but to the question about scripted, do I get scripted questions? Never. I would never agree to an interview where someone says, ask this. I would never agree to that. That's my platform isn't there for someone to use as just a mouthpiece. That's like literally never. But again, I'm sure there's been others, but I mean, in 14 years, that's 3 times I've told you that I can remember. In 14 years, it's a rare thing. And I was only willing to do it yesterday with William because of the circumstance. I would rather have him and talk to him for 10 minutes on air and not ask that question at his request or his, parents and representation at their request than not have him at all. Because we got good stuff out of that interview. I thought his answer about Jay Johnson as a recruiter was awesome. Talking about being 5'5", 100 pounds as a high school freshman and not playing at all, and now developing into this was awesome. I mean, a lot of that was really good content. So anyway, hope that makes sense. Jordan Smith, what's your prediction for LSU this year? I haven't made one, Jordan, formally, but I'll probably tap dance somewhere in that 9-3, 10-2 range, and I hope I'll fall toward 10-2. But I kind of want to see how they look in fall and how the defense is coming along. Bruce, yeah, man, Marucci is the official bat of MLB now. That is pretty awesome. Brandon, Bradley, make defense great again. In the spring, LSU was giving walk-on running back reps because they didn't have scholarship running backs. Correct. Everybody, all the players that had left were gone. You had injuries. You really just had 2. You had Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams. That was it. Caden Durham wasn't on campus yet, and Trey Holly was suspended. You had 2 scholarship running backs in the fall, in spring. Shout out to Don Juan. All right, Brandon. Thank you, dude. A big shout out. Okay. Merrick, where is the Iraq family vacation this year? We're going back to Seaside, Seagrove, whatever it's called, 30A. Going back there again. What? Well, that's why I never go in the water. Don't go in the water. Are you going in the water?
3 sharks within like 2 hours. It was, well, no, 3 people. Those they think it's the same shark.
Did they get the shark?
No. They closed the beach yesterday. If I could go in water, closed it.
I don't go in the water anyway. I mean, I might go like, I might just put like my feet in.
Kids go in.
I don't need that salty water. You just don't go far out. Stay close.
They were in knee-deep water.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go out there.
Like Santa Rosa, where we're going. It's all it was closed yesterday.
Well, good. Feel badly for the people that got attacked. Were they just injured? Oh, man.
Well, woman lost her arm. Her arm's gone.
Man. You know that there's that surfer, the young girl, I guess she's probably not young anymore, but the young girl was like a professional surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack and then continued surfing. You ever seen her? Pretty amazing. Steven's watching. Stephen Mumford. He said, tell Drew to come visit Roxy and Weller. What? Yeah, he keeps running in here and going, what's Steven's name? And I keep going, Stephen Robert Mumford. There's my cousin Steven right there. Drew keeps running in here asking about. Good to see you there, cuz. Hey, Drew. Yeah, no, he won't understand that. That's on the screen. That's funny. Oh, that was 19 minutes ago. Okay. Steven, we do have to come see y'all, man. I saw y'all at the beach. I don't know if y'all are back yet. Where am I? Randy won't say John is the missing piece to the Tiger offense, but 100% John only energizes it more. Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. There's no downside. There's no downside. I'm excited for him. Dalton Barnett, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Joseph, listening to you break down the baseball draft, are the picks timed like football? Yes, but it's much closer together. Like when you get into the later rounds, it might be like a minute or 2 minutes between picks. I mean, it is literally like you have your call and go, hey, we're going to take you here. Will you take X? Go. I mean, it goes much faster. Now, they've made the first round a TV show, kind of like football. Remember, Jay Johnson was on the draft last year, so they've made that a TV show on MLB Network. But yes, it goes much quicker. Let's see. So now I can randomly call. That means Deborah. Good morning, Brett. Let's play. What if Jay takes the Texas job? Who does Woody hire? No. I've given that zero thought. I mean, they signed Jay to an extension last year. He's not going anywhere. I would fall over stunned if he ever left for another college job. Richard, the last 2 years, Vegas has been right on the Saints. Win total 7.5 seems low. I've seen several 10-win predictions this week, which seems high. Where do you feel? 7-10, 6-11. I think they beat Carolina week 1 and probably lose the next 4. And then it's a really treacherous stretch just to try to get to December, where I think you can win 4 of your last 5. I don't think you're winning at Green Bay in December. And Tampa could be playing for the division at the end of the season, so I don't know if you win that one as well. But I think this is probably a 6 or 7 win team. Anything excite you more than Bama burning, asking for a friend? It's so funny, man. Like, looking at the replies to that on my Twitter, like Bama fans are all in Bama fans have been on my Twitter for 3 days because of that. It's so funny to watch them just scurry like roaches. Every now and again, it's fun to be a troll. Let's see. In regard to my previous comment about the guy in the OTB chat in Texas, I had more typed out basically saying I wasn't taking for granted what a random chat guy said, but YouTube has character limits. Got it. Scorpio, if Emery could do great academically and works hard, I predict he has a breakout year. Book it. Okay, no one's going to remember that prediction, but you can book it and come back, and you'd have to define to me what a breakout year is. But Emery said the most carries ever had in a season is 76. So what's a breakout year? Define a breakout year. Brandon, I miss Drew Brees so much. So do I. Gary, good morning. Welcome back, John Emery. Show him what you got this season. Go Tigers. Rooney, what's good, Rooney? That's true. If he wants another tractor, I'm on. Dude, he plays with the tractor a lot. So Rooney is at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana, and he was very, very kind. The first time I met Rooney, he had a toy tractor for Drew. He actually had a little squeaky toy tractor for T-Bob as well. But the tractor's on his play mat, and he likes to push the buttons that like there's buttons on top of the tractor that play music that like have like an engine sound as well. If something makes noise, generally Drew's gonna like it. So thank you, man. Let's see. Drew needs a lawnmower. He has one. He's got lawnmower. He's got a play blower. All that sort of stuff. Let's see. Gary, have autistic twin granddaughters. They're not crazy about loud. Yeah, it kind of It depends. Loud doesn't necessarily always bother Drew. But yeah, he loves to sit in the window and watch the yard crews cut the grass, and he'll watch videos on YouTube of backpack blowers and stuff like that. So. What did you think of Matt saying your number on air? Some person, I said 555-139. It wasn't his number. And I don't think Steve would care, but that was not his number. Drew just wants me to say numbers. He doesn't really know what number I'm saying. All right, two more. Randall, do you think Nuss will thrive in Kelly's system even though he's not a mobile quarterback? Yes, I do. And I think it's a collaborative system, not just Brian Kelly's system per se. Wins count more than stats. Take wins out. Do you think Carr is better this year with the new OC versus last year with Carmichael? Okay, so are we talking about stats? I will make a statistical prediction on Carr before the season. Same thing as I did with Ocho last year, which Ocho owes me, man. Can't believe he's ghosted me now. I mean, just look at Carr, man. He's just like he's just what he is, man. 32, 39, 39, 34, 4,000, 4,000, 41 back in 2020, the COVID year. Then in 28, he went 48. So that was when Gruden went there. Remember? Like it was a very noticeable jump when he had Gruden with him. He went from 4,000 to 41 to 48. And then we know what happened with Gruden. And then he went to 35. Then last year with the Saints, 38. He's just, except for the one little blip there when he had Gruden, he's kind of been what he is. So it's like, could Kubiak get out of Carr what Gruden did in that 21 season? 4,800 yards. He threw for 23 touchdowns, 14 picks. That's not great, but the most touchdowns he ever had was the COVID year, 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 picks. That was his best year ever. 40, Yeah. I think he is what he is, man. Ocho is the new Dwayne from Thibodeau. He's bordering upon it. Anyway, all right, I got to go. We got a birthday party here at noon, so I'm going to get dressed and get on going. Scott, find anything about Landon Victorian? I did not. Candidly didn't ask, but I will. Okay. Y'all have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. As always, shout out to Brock. If you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. They're the best. After Hours Clinic open. And remember, Brock Rock and Wine coming up July 27th at the Stadium Club in Tiger Stadium. So get your tickets at brortho.com. And, of course, Parrish. Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Okay, y'all have an awesome day.